Security and Counterterrorism Advisors. He said, among other things, quote, "I've laid out a strategy to protect our communities and our country and to defeat ISIS and other terrorist groups. An intelligence surge, new efforts to disrupt recruiting online, smashing the terrorist strongholds in the Middle East, dismantling their global networks, stemming the flow of foreign fighters, and making sure they can't bring terrorism back home with them." But it was Donald Trump's son, Donald Trump Jr., who took the internet by storm. He tweeted this photo with the caption, quote, "If I had a bowl of Skittles and I told you just 3 would kill you, would you take a handful?" Our Monday political panel is back from townhall.com, Don Benson, and Fortune Magazine's in the East. Well, that created quite a storm. I guess the Skittles people came out and said Skittles are candy and refugees are people, right? But the analogy was, if you knew that some of these people in the group were going to be terrorists, would you take a whole bunch of them in? So was that so terrible?
Well, I think the concern was that it was dehumanizing. I think as Wrigley, the candy company, suggested, you're dehumanizing a group of people who've been brutally terrorized by a civil war for years. 5 years to be exact.
Not yet.
400,000 killed. Yeah, but I think it kind of plays into a Donald Trump sensibility of, well, some are Muslim, let's ban all Muslims. And so you've got some of the candy, let's paint the entire thing. The other thing is naturalized citizens. Let's just talk about that, which our terrorists have come, including the most recent one, and the one from San Bernardino, have come from this population of naturalized citizens in the United States. We have over 6 million, just over the past decade, of naturalized citizens. So you paint a brush over the entire naturalized citizen population. So I think that's what people were reacting to.
Yeah.
I think the meme that everyone's talking about from Donald Trump Jr. was appealing on a facile level. It sort of makes sense, but I think if you apply that logic too broadly, it sort of falls apart a little bit. I think the point that the Trump people would say is, so this just proves that we need to be very careful about vetting to get the bad Skittles out of the jar, to continue with this tortured analogy. I do think that the dehumanizing thing is a little bit overblown, because if he had simply used a very familiar analogy involving food, bad apples, I can't imagine people would have been upset about that. This was just a different illustration, and maybe it struck people the wrong way.
People said, what are you trying to compare refugees to
apples? Apples are fruit. Refugees are people.
Right, there you go.
And I think that sometimes we're a little oversensitive.
More broadly than anything, this is back in the news. All right. And Donald Trump is talking about the things that he prefers to talk about in connection with terrorism. As you saw, Hillary Clinton is talking about what she likes to talk about and the plan she's got. How does this issue seem likely to play?
I think Donald Trump's argument, as we saw right there, resonates with a lot of people who are worried and scared, worried about people coming into this country. But I also, I think they both have the sensibilities that they have for a long time. And, just the fact that we're talking about Skittles sadly takes us away from the key issues that we need to be looking at is the FBI resourced enough to be following potential threats in our country? Should we be looking at them in a better way, like looking at where they travel, looking, at guys who travel to Pakistan and back, as opposed to racial profiling? You could travel profile. Politically, I think it works depending on who your base is, and I think it's pretty much a wash. I think it's a wash. He comes off as tough, but I don't think anybody thinks of Hillary Clinton as not tough on national security.
They are making very distinct bets on what the American people and undecided voters want to hear. Hillary Clinton is betting that they want to see calm, cool, steady leadership, someone who can name-check a bunch of world leaders and not lose her mind when bad things happen. Trump is betting that the American people, and again those persuadables, have an increasing sense of urgency and fear and outrage that is not being channeled by a lot of our leaders right now, and he is saying, I'm going to be completely different, this stuff really bothers me, and things are going to change. Very vastly different bets on the electorate, and it'll be interesting to see when they clash head-to-head Monday night.
Well, let's talk about what you think about what they're saying so far. How do you think? Who's got the upper hand in the public in your view with these respective views on this?
The polls seesaw back and forth when it comes to who is trusted more on terrorism. Sometimes it's her, sometimes it's him. The statement that you read from Mrs. Clinton in the Chiron there at the beginning of the segment sounded good, but you sort of wonder as a voter, okay, what is an intelligence surge?
Yeah, well, that's a good question.
Yeah, what does that mean exactly? If you were Secretary of State while the intelligence community is now alleging your administration, you and President Obama, were downplaying, ignoring, and whitewashing actual intelligence about the rise of ISIS. So what on earth should we believe? Anything you have to say?
Last word.
Yeah, I think that is the most resonant argument of Donald Trump, is saying, you know, the mess he left in the Middle East gave rise to ISIS. Not that she co-founded ISIS, as he seems to suggest, but I do think that that's a powerful argument for him to make.
John, Nina, thanks very much. Nice to see you both.
Thank you.
Coming up, I'm still being compared to a dog, but they're not all bad. Some more mean tweets next.
This is the ultra-responsive, accurate TLX with precision oil steer, and this is how we make it. Visit your local Acura dealer for attractive offers on the TLX.
Hey, come close to the computer. You know those eyes.
Everything okay? My husband, Mark Williams, is on a Deepwater Horizon.
Hey! Gotta get to the lifeboats right now. I'm getting that covered.
Hey, this is Deepwater Horizon. I don't want to die.
Don't look down, look in there.
Deepwater Horizon, rated PG-13, in theaters and IMAX, September 30th.
I have asthma, one of many pieces in my life. So when my asthma symptoms kept coming back on my long-term control medicine, I talked to my doctor and found a missing piece in my asthma treatment with Brio.
Once daily Brio prevents asthma symptoms. Brio's for adults with asthma not well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Brio won't replace a rescue inhaler for sudden breathing problems. Brio opens up airways to help improve breathing for a full 24 hours. Brio contains a type of medicine that increases the risk of death from asthma problems and may increase the risk of hospitalization in children and adolescents. Brio is not for people whose asthma is well controlled on a long-term asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Once your asthma is well controlled, your doctor will decide if you can stop Brio and prescribe a different asthma control medicine, like an inhaled corticosteroid. Do not take Brio more than prescribed. See your doctor if your asthma does not improve or gets worse.
Ask your doctor if 24-hour Brio could be a missing piece for you. See if you're eligible for 12 months free at mybrio.com.
That's right, Keith Rock. SiriusXM's free listening event might be over, but now you can turn us back on with packages starting at $5.99 a month plus fees. Just call 855-874-7743 to keep hearing all the things that make you love taking the long way home. So call 855-874-7743 or visit SiriusXM.com/GetSXM to turn us back on and up.
What if a company that didn't make cars made plastics that made them lighter? The lubricants that improved fuel economy? Even technology to make engines more efficient. What company does all this?